Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. Um, let's jump right in. If you would like to sponsor these classes, it helps us keep these classes going. We really appreciate it. And let's get started. This week's Torah portion is Parsha Beshalach. It is the second Torah portion after the Jewish people leave the land of Israel, leave the land of Egypt, I should say, in last week's Torah portion, and the Jewish people cross through the the sea splits, and the Jewish people get crossed through, and of course, following that, at the end of the Torah portion, the Jewish people are attacked by the nation of Amalek, and let's read some of that inside. Amalek came and fought with the Israelites in Rephidim. Moses says to Joshua, "Choose men for us and go out to battle Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand." And the Torah tells us that whenever the Jewish people saw Moses' hands raised, they would win. When they saw Moses' hands fall, they would lose. So Aaron and Hur stand on either side of him, hold his hands up, and they weaken Amalek. At the end of this week's Torah portion ends off, God said to Moses as follows: "Write this as remembrance in the book of the Torah and repeat it in Joshua's ears, for I will totally obliterate the memory of Amalek from under the heavens." And then at the end it says, "The hand is on God's throne. God will be at war with Amalek for all generations." So the Torah tells us we have to remember Amalek, and we have to remember to wipe them out for all generations. And the Torah tells us that it says that until Amalek is destroyed, God's name is not written in full, like something is lacking, so to speak. So the question is, what is the big deal about this? And again, in the book of Deuteronomy, it says this whole story again. So let's read what Maimonides says about what the actual mitzvah is, which, by the way, this Sunday, God willing, this Sunday evening, we're going to be celebrating the completion of the entire Rambam by those who study the daily Rambam, and together with the day of Tu B'Shvat. So please join us if you're around. We'd love to see you. Okay, so Maimonides Sefer Mitzvahs, positive mitzvah number 189. It says as follows: "We are commanded to remember what Amalek did to us, how they instigated and hate them constantly. We must encourage a nation to hate Amalek so that the mitzvah is not forgotten and the hatred does not subside." We have to hate Amalek. And the question is, why? Why do we have to hate them so much? We don't see this by any other nation that attacked the Jewish people. So the Torah tells us as follows: the defining trait of Amalek is what they did was irrational. The Jewish people were not out to get Amalek. We had nothing to do with Amalek. It's not like we were going to take their land or anything like that. The Jewish people were at their peak strength coming out of Egypt, coming through the Split Sea, and it's what happens? They attack. Why would they attack? It's obviously something that's not rational. It makes no sense, and seemingly something that we shouldn't be focused on. Why should we focus on irrational acts? So the Torah tells us that in the book of Numbers, Reishis Goyim Amalek. Amalek is the first among the nations. And the Torah, again, in this week's Torah portion, or I should say, in the book of Deuteronomy, the Torah says that what did Amalek do? It says Asher Karcha B'derech. They chanced upon you on the way. But Asher Karcha could also mean that they tried to cool you off. It's another way of the same word. Could mean also cooling off. That Amalek was the first nation. They were the first to attack Jewish people, and their whole idea was to cool them off. That the Jewish people were at their peak. They were hot. They were passionate. And Amalek had to bring apathy. They had to say, listen, the Jewish people, you think they're invincible? No, they didn't win. They were crushed. But they showed that the Jewish people had a weakness. And it is our job as Jewish people to recognize what that weakness is and to make sure it never happens. So we have to constantly be on top of them. And the truth is, this is the beginning of, they're the first of the nations. Again, in the service of God, that means it is the beginning of all the bad traits that could happen. All negativity starts with Amalek, starts with apathy. So what happens? A Jew gets inspired to serve God, and He's passionate about it and he's excited about it. And what does Amalek come to do? Amalek comes to say, don't relax, don't get so excited. And the Torah again gives a mashal, gives a parable of a person there's a boiling hot tub. Nobody wants to jump in until one person jumps in and he gets burned. But now everybody says, it's possible, it's possible. And that is what apathy is. Apathy is the Torah, is somebody being passionate about something and being cooled off from it. And therefore, it is really important that we don't allow Amalek to creep in. We don't allow apathy to creep in. Because all negative traits stem from there. So, how do we overcome that? There are two things that we have to do. We have to recognize. So we look in the battle of Amalek, there are two things that the Jewish people had to do. The first is, Moses says to Joshua, Bachar lanu anashim, choose men for us. What does that mean? It means that it has to be plural. Not choose men for me, choose men for us. So what are these men? So these are Moses' men who try to follow, that their conduct should follow Moses' actions, Moses' instructions, which is the Torah, as it says that the Torah is taught to us by Moses, it says in the Torah. So Moses choosing men means that Moses says find people who are following the Torah. So by following the Torah, by following in Moses' way, by being men of Moses, that is how the first way we could fight apathy. Being connected to Moses, being connected to the way of Moses, which is to follow in the conduct of the Torah. And the second thing is, it says that Vayilachem Yisrael Berefidim. Vayilachem es Yisrael Berefidim. They fought the Jewish people in the place called Refidim. Now Refidim is the name of a place. But Refidim can also mean weak. So the Torah tells us, the Talmud tells us, what does it mean that they were weak? They were weak in the study of Torah. And the Jewish people were vulnerable because they had not been so studious about the study of Torah. So this is how we battle Amalek. We battle Amalek, for number one, is Torah study. As we explained, right? That this is how men of Moses, and through us focusing on Torah study and focusing on doing the Torah and doing the mitzvahs, that is how we keep away apathy. And this is why it's so important that we not be apathetic, and we're not just apathetic, not to be cynical. A lot of us are cynical, especially Americans, very cynical people. We don't take anything seriously. It's important that we take that when we have something inspiring, an inspiring message or an inspiring thing that happens to us, we don't allow that inspiration to be knocked off and be like, whatever, it wasn't important, it wasn't so special, it wasn't so, not to be passionate about it. We have to be passionate about our Judaism. We can't allow apathy to creep in. And this is the lesson that we could take from this week's Torah portion. This is the lesson we could take from the story of Amalek, is that whenever we are, the way we guard ourselves from apathy, which is the beginning of the end of our service of God, the way we do that is by focusing on connecting to Moses, through connecting to Torah study, and then we are immune. That is the antidote to apathy. Thank you very much for joining, and if you want to learn more about Torah study and the study of Maimonides, please join us on Sunday evening. We would love to see you. We would love to teach you about the study of Maimonides and the Torah, and have a great Shabbos, and God willing, we'll see you next week.